Hey YouTube, this is Southern Purple 1.
Well, Huples cat. One of the nice things is I can actually make videos outside, which I'm really looking forward to. So they closed Disneyland China and they sold the people and the local councils in China to prep stock food. And there's a lot of speculation online about that, and we're going to go into that. And I will tell you my reason why I think they're doing this, the actual reason. So is China preparing for war with America to invade Taiwan, or is it because they're having a massive outbreak of COVID? In our terms, it's certainly not a massive outbreak, but they are still doing the complete shutdown. So it's sensible to have some preps. Southern Prepper 1 has three speculations as to why this was being done. And of course, being smart, he doesn't say why, because none of us know. But I'm not that smart. And I'm actually going to tell you what I actually believe the real reason to be.
Yesterday, China's Ministry of Commerce issued a warning and issued people to stockpile food. Really didn't give a clear indication why. Is it because they're experiencing a little bit of jump in COVID? Will there be another lockdown in China? Is it because of Taiwan?
So let's have a look at what actually triggered the speculation, because it's always interesting to know what China is saying as well as other places are saying, because even though a lot of it's propaganda, sometimes you can get some sort of a hint about what you should be doing in terms of your preps based on what governments are doing.
And in China, there's an alarming situation. This time, Ministry of Commerce has said families should keep stores of daily necessities in case there is a sudden increase in demand. This has come as the government there strives to ensure sufficient food supply heading into winters. At the same time, coronavirus cases are also increasing.
So they're getting close to what I believe to be the actual reason here.
Government said local authorities should carry out preparatory tasks such as purchasing vegetables that can be stored well in advance, and also look to strengthen emergency delivery networks to guarantee smooth and efficient distribution channels. Unusually heavy rains in China, they have caused vegetable prices to surge, fueling concerns over food prices and worrying government officials in Beijing. On Monday, China said it would strengthen efforts to reduce amount of grain lost at harvest and food wasted in kitchens across country.
Grain lost at harvest. Yes, food and vegetable prices in China and elsewhere have resumed recently. 2021 was a disastrous growing and harvesting season for most of the world's food producing areas. For example, Vietnam was unable to get the second crop of rice in, and a lot of areas have experienced climate change, which has caused severe weather, which has really reduced the amount of food they're able to produce.
As part of a broad action plan, this is to further boost food security.
Food security is critical for China, critical for America, critical for the UK, critical for Canada, and absolutely critical for you and critical for me.
China is trying to ease concerns sparked by a government directive urging people to stock up on food ahead of winter. An order urging authorities to ensure adequate supplies sparked online concern, and it was made worse by fresh outbreaks of COVID-19.
Can you imagine if Biden or Trudeau or Johnson or any of our world leaders in the West told us that? Stock up, because there won't be enough in the winter? Can you imagine what the effects of that would be on supply?
It's a message that sparked concerned discussion online on Tuesday. The Chinese public being told by the Commerce Ministry to stock up on daily necessities to meet their daily needs and emergencies in a notice posted online on Monday night. Local authorities were also told to ensure supply and price stability, buy vegetables that could be stored in advance, ensure smooth emergency distribution channels, and to sound an early warning if there were supply issues.
Truth or lies? We have no way of knowing whether China is telling us the truth or not. And it's always best to be a little bit cautious when any sort of major government, especially a Chinese type, tells you this is why we did this. In essence, China is actually prepping for food shortages this winter, not famine, but major areas of food shortage. And it's basically trying to tell people, stock up now with your fruit and veg, because come a few more months, we're not going to have any because we know what the producers produced and it was insufficient to get us through a normal winter.
While there were no reasons stated in the directive, the notice is not necessarily unusual. In September, China issued a similar notice before its week-long National Day holiday. What's unusual, though, is the attention the latest directive is getting. Amid heightened cross-strait tensions in recent months, some on Chinese social media platform Weibo speculated that it was preparation for an attack on Taiwan. But this was quickly refuted by several Communist Party-linked publications. The Global Times editor-in-chief wrote in a note that the government would not use a notice at this time to signal the need for people to prepare for war. Instead, he said the latest move was to prepare for supply shortages caused by seasonal changes and other disasters.
However, China has released these types of notices in the past, and for the same reason that they're giving here. What they're actually saying is, we did this because of seasonal changes and other disasters. I wonder what that means.
We say no more blah blah blah, no more exploitation of people and nature and the planet, no more exploitation, no more blah blah blah.
Hope you're enjoying this little tour. We're on 103 acres here in central Ontario, and this is one of 3 trails, and the other 2 are fairly small, that we have, and I'm going to pop around them all and do the video segments. So we still don't have any hot water, and we still don't have any heat, so we are using the wood stove at night. It gets extremely hot with the wood stove upstairs, but not so hot downstairs, and we're still working with the builder trying to get him to actually finish the project. So it's all a tale of woe. For me, it's like SHTF, and I'm quite enjoying it. If we have a nice solar passive house, we're going to have underground floor heating, the HVAC's going to be fixed eventually, all of this stuff's going to be online eventually, we'll get tiling done eventually, and then we'll have a really nice modern house with very little input, apart from stocking up the polar furnace, but we will have state-of-the-art. And if we get any MP or a solar flare, I know that the wood stove works, and I know that's for a fact because I'm living it. So I actually had a bath today in the other people's home, and I actually had a shave, and Kitty cut my hair. So I guess on Sundays that's when we're doing it. We're not washing as much, and I'm going to be using manual washing as much as possible, and the heavy stuff's going to go to the coin laundry in the small town. So yeah, enjoy our trip. I'm trying to keep cheerful.
The Economic Daily also said the public should not have too much of an overactive imagination, adding that the purpose was to make sure people would not be caught off guard if there was a lockdown in their area. China is currently trying to stamp out a new resurgence of COVID-19 cases that has since spread to at least 16 provinces and regions in the country. This sparking concerns that it could disrupt supply chains and transportation of goods.
Labelling here is crucial. While Big Oil and others have made human-caused climate change a political thing, and I am aware a few people watching this video don't believe it's real, they're wrong, and don't believe humans caused it. They're wrong, and don't believe that it's getting worse each passing day. They're wrong. It's crucial for the individual to actually take steps to mitigate SHTF. What that means is trying to produce less carbon dioxide, which actually is a great way to prep, and that's one of the major reasons we've moved into the area we're in. And yeah, I'm aware of the fact it costs a lot of carbon dioxide to do it, but the house that we're in probably will be occupied by, hopefully, human beings for the next 200 to 300 years. So don't be fooled, don't allow yourself to be fooled by misinformation and disinformation. Human-caused climate change is real. It's far, far worse than the governments are saying in COP26. It is actually an absolute disaster. It's an SHTF that's going to hit within the next few, not 10 or 20 or 30 years. When people say things like 2050, 2070, 2100, it's easy to go, yeah, I'll be long dead. I don't know how many of us will be dead in 2026, and if this keeps up, quite a few of us will be dead by 2027. COVID is an issue in China. They've got a zero tolerance policy similar to what New Zealand recently had and had to abandon. So they actually did close their entire Disneyland down with it open, with people there, for one case going inside. And quite dramatic what an authoritarian government can do in a public health emergency. But you've got to take it on board here. Why are they doing what they're doing? And what does it mean for you?
Also, as the country has faced extreme weather this year, with heavy rains and flooding wiping out crops and affecting production. Prices of certain vegetables went up by 16% in October, month on month. And China launched a campaign against food waste last year amid concerns about food security during the pandemic.
Again, human-caused climate change is wrecking food stocks, and perhaps we need to take it more seriously than perhaps we have been doing and get more prepped up for it. I would argue this is the new normal and we're living it, and it's going to get more abnormal, this new normal, as time goes on. This is the time to figure out how to get water, how to get food, how to have shelter, how to have security in case of a collapse. Because societal collapse, when they come really, really quickly. You won't really have the chance to order stuff by Amazon Prime, though I'm sure I'm going to try to.
Thank you. Let us be part of the event.
Denial, greenwashing, 2050, 2070, 2100. None of this is helpful or useful to you prepping. The global climate showed signs which have long been predicted by almost every single climate change model that we're heading towards a period of difficulty feeding people. China is highly unreliable, and I'd like you to consider the following segments, which are happy segments, which actually, if you look at them and think about what those segments are doing from a propaganda dictatorship, why do they show those segments of film to their population? And I'll talk about them at the end. But first off, I just want to say one thing. Don't blame China for human-caused climate change. We're all responsible. Every single one of us, including Greta Thunberg, is guilty of burning fossil fuels and you're living an unsustainable life. All of us are guilty. England, America, Canada, we've done a huge amount of fossil fuel burning and still are. And yeah, without India and China on board, we can't slow it down, but we have to reverse it. And I don't believe the governments of the world are going to reverse fossil fuel burning within my lifetime. And I do believe that the CO2 in the atmosphere will continue to rise and will continue to have catastrophic effects both on water and on food production. And that's one of the main reasons I prep and one of the major reasons I'm retired here.
Central kitchens of catering firms in Lanzhou in Gansu province are doubling efforts to ensure adequate supply of food amid a resurgence of the pandemic. As of Tuesday, the province had logged 54 locally transmitted confirmed cases starting from October 18th when new cases began emerging. The provincial capital Lanzhou has initiated its third round of mass nucleic acid testing to contain the latest outbreak.
疫情发生以后呢，我们会响应商务局的号召，我们着手迅速准备了给所有的这些隔离点和这些隔离的酒店，还有社区。还有呢，这些抗疫的医护人员呢进行配餐下一步呢，我们还会积极的就是组织整个的人力和这个资源和物力呢，给兰州市需要的所有的社区呢进行配餐。一共要持续7天的时间，每天呢大概有7500份，要送到兰州的东湖小区这样的隔离点，还有一些社区和市场部门的这些抗疫人员的手中。每天早上我们是4点半开始配餐，第一个早餐呢是6点15呢开始出餐，中午呢我们是10点半出餐，11点半呢到达这些所有的配餐的位置。晚上呢我们是从3点半开始加工制作，5点半的出餐，6点呢到我们所有的这些配餐地区。在兰州目前有12家中餐门店，那我们参与这次整个的配餐工作呢，所有的门店都在参与。
What comes next, of course, and we're seeing it already, is higher food prices. And you pay the higher food prices or you eat less food. And at some point, eating less food for some segments of the population becomes literal starvation. At that point, it's hard to keep society up and running. Prep now or suffer later. And you're not going to have much warning of this.
我刚做花园10几年了，从来没吃过这个待遇，没人没享受这个待遇。说老实话，像我们少的就不会进这个餐厅来吃了嘛，平时就不会进来嘛。干工作才有衣服穿的，请了别人一进来一看，你干什么？ 早晨10点半到11点半吃中午饭，下午12点半到下午5点半，5点半以后有一班就上到晚上10点回家，第二早晨4点半又要来。我就是这个工作我适应了，还比较满意，就是顺其自然了。好像觉得20几年了，这个工作很适合我，因为我是没有文化大老粗。
Long hours, hey? That's long hours, and he does it cheerfully because he's too thick to get a proper job. Interesting propaganda, isn't it? However, when the central government of any type shows you happy, smiling people enjoying free food, you have to wonder why. For me, this sort of thing's a clear go signal to actually stock up on food. Because if the government's trying to feed segments of the population that are critical to the economic success of that population, because they're not really getting adequate food except for the free daily meal they're getting from restaurants, you have to wonder what's coming next. Fresh air, silence apart from the wind, the odd plane, the odd ATV hunter in the distance banging away. Paradise. Is this a cover for invading Taiwan? This is a Chinese report. So one China is the reunification of the parts of original China that have split off. Hong Kong, reunified, and now Taiwan remains one of the areas that they want to take. They're building islands in the South China Sea, so they'll reunify with them as well. But it's interesting, China expects America to help them reunify with Taiwan. They say this is American policy for many, many years, and they want it done. So bear with me, let's find out what the American media have to say about this whole thing, shall we?
President Biden said at CNN's town hall last week that the U.S. would come to Taiwan's defense if China invaded. Your spokesperson said there's no change in U.S. position. So I just want to clarify, has the U.S. committed directly to the Taiwanese government that it will come to Taiwan's defense if China invades?
There is no change in our policy. We've had a long-standing commitment that, by the way, then Senator Biden strongly supported when he was in the United States Senate, a long-standing commitment pursuant to the Taiwan Relations Act to make sure that Taiwan has the means to defend itself. And we stand by that. The president stood by that strongly. And we want to make sure that no one takes any unilateral action that would disrupt the status quo with regard to Taiwan. That hasn't changed.
So Biden says America will go to war with China if they invade Taiwan. Blinken says they will not go to war with China if they invade Taiwan, but will continue to sell as much armaments and profitable weaponry to the Taiwanese to defend themselves as possible.
You are the Secretary of State, and that was a very, very perfect Diplo speak. So I just wanted, for people who don't speak that language, can you clarify what that exactly means? Are you now saying that the United States would not come to Taiwan's defense if attacked? Can you be specific, yes or no?
Dana, again, what I can tell you is that we remain committed, resolutely committed to our responsibilities under the Taiwan Relations Act, including making sure that Taiwan has the ability to defend itself from any aggression.
Okay, just one more follow on that. The president said specifically that the U.S. would. That's not what you're saying, correct?
The president has, for a long time, including when he was a senator, voting for the Taiwan Relations Act, made clear that we will do everything necessary to make sure that Taiwan has the means to defend itself.
Again, this is all propaganda in one form or another, no matter which corporate or government is infiltrating it into your media stream. You have to be very skeptical about all information. In all honesty, popular support for a war with China over Taiwan would only really be popular in Taiwan and Russia. I don't really think our population wants to go even in a non-nuclear war in the South China Seas. How many sailors do we want to lose there? 5,000, 50,000, 100,000? With China's production control of the global economy, with China's numbers, with China's military numbers, it wouldn't take them that long to take Taiwan whether we tried to fight them for it or not. And certainly a land invasion of China by us is totally and frankly impossible. So there you have it. There'll be no war with China over Taiwan, but America will do everything it possibly can to prevent China from actually invading, including, I would argue, Joe Biden claiming there might be war if they do that. I think it's actually not senility in this case. I think it's deliberate mixed messaging. I think they see China is building up to take Taiwan, and they're saying, hey, we can go to war with you over this. We're not going to, but we could. We're not going to, but we could. So they're trying to get China not to militarily take over Taiwan. Time will tell on this one. But I don't believe this is why China's government is telling its people to prep. I think they're telling their people, and local councils crucially, to prep, because they know food supply this winter will run very short because of human-caused climate change and the effect of crops in 2021.
You can shove your climate crisis up your arse. You can shove your climate crisis up your arse. You can shove your climate crisis. You can shove your climate crisis. You can shove your climate crisis up your arse. Inside COP, they're just politicians and people in power pretending to take our future seriously, pretending to take the present seriously of the people who are being affected already today by the climate crisis. Change is not going to come from inside there. That is not leadership. This is leadership. This is what leadership looks like. We say no more blah blah blah, no more exploitation of people and nature and the planet, no more exploitation, no more blah blah blah, no more whatever the fuck they're doing inside there. We're sick and tired of it, and we're gonna make the change, whether they like it or not. They have to keep on going for too long.
So let's be real here. War with China would probably be life-ending for most of us, especially if it was nuclear. If it wasn't nuclear and it was a war to the finish, a war for occupation of the two capitals by the other side, that would be life-traumatizing and ending for many people and would completely wreck the current system of the economies of both countries. So it's very unlikely China will go to war with America or America will go to war with China. Certainly not over Taiwan. However, human-caused climate change is going to do the same thing, but it's doing it very, very slowly. So a large number of people are either pretending it doesn't exist, or are ignoring it, or even worse, what most of the governments are doing, pretending it's a problem for our grandchildren. It is not. It's a problem for us. Stock food, grow food, preserve food, get into canning, get into dehydrating, figure out where your water is, make sure you have plenty of water. Take China's advice, stock up now. If you haven't got any food stocks, get 4 weeks. Just go and spend $20 to $30 or pounds and get basic food that you don't have to cook so you can eat. You might love her or hate her, but Greta Thunberg is absolutely correct. Government action will not prevent famine and starvation in most of the planet by their actions to mitigate and limit carbon dioxide burning. Not going to happen. We've passed that point. They're committed now, and a large number of the governments of the West are paid for and supported by big oil. Ain't going to happen. We are not going to reverse climate change, and I do not believe we're going to halt it. It's going to get a lot worse and a lot rougher from this point in. And it isn't just about the occasional Katrina or the occasional wildfire. This is going to be a huge change in normal. Our new normal will be get food while you can, grow food when you can, go through large periods of deprivation. Inflation is going to go through the roof, especially because of food prices. Not a great message from China, but a sensible one. I do wish our own governments would occasionally tell us to prep in Canada. I know Sweden did, and I did a video on it. Like, people need to get more prepped than they are. It's disgusting how little food stocks people actually have, or their ability to deal with it if they have a hydro outage, power outage, or anything. People aren't ready. They're not ready for a 3 to 4 day event. have a great week somewhere in central Ontario, trying to figure out what my retirement's going to be like. Love you all. Doodles. This has been a Sleepy Terrier production 2021.